Hello and welcome back to Coin Lady channel. The dictator and supreme leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, was completely dismantled during today's oversight session. It was a real treat to see, too. Some of the most intriguing aspects of this will be discussed below. And when I say today, I mean right now, which is sometimes 12:49 a.m. when I'm recording this. Therefore, yesterday, according to some time zones. However, I don't consider it yesterday until I go to sleep, and I haven't yet. Hell no. I've decided to use that name for it on my channel. But trust me when I say that seeing this was a delight. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Gary Gensler. Perhaps he manages to get away with it all, but have you seen the headline? Reason being, Gary Gensler's removal has received significant support. See the headline, Daily Caller Representative Warren Davidson wants SEC Chair Gary Gensler replaced. And he told him straight up. He pointed out every single catastrophic setback. For a typical human being, I can only imagine how uneasy this must be. But I still have my doubts about Kim Jong-Gensler being human. Perhaps he's a reptile. Folks I'm just vaguely familiar with. But it's possible he doesn't feel things. He only wants to cause harm. He has zero interest in it. As you might guess. The ego is plain to see. But before I go into further detail, let me make something crystal obvious. I come from a completely monetary background-free background. Nothing I say or write should be taken as recommendations to purchase or sell any security. Just a hobbyist here that occasionally posts films to YouTube on various crypto-related topics. Let's get right into this first post I found on Warren Davidson's Twitter feed, in which he states that the SEC needs to be reorganized since Chairman Gensler has a history of failing to safeguard investors and abusing his position of authority. Time has come. So, the sequence cannot be true. Republic. Warren Davidson, a representative from Ohio, has introduced a bill to reorganize the Securities and Exchange Commission and remove the current chair, Gary Gensler. In his final statements at Tuesday's SEC oversight hearing before the House Financial Services Committee, Davidson argued for the need to replace Gensler and reorganize the agency. And have a look at this citation. This is so lovely I can hardly stand it. It seemed like no holds were held back. Here, no holds were barred. This is utterly devastating news for Kim Jong-Gensler. What I mean is, he was savagely dismembered. Here is what Representative Warren Davidson had to say about it. Not only that, but he did so to Kim Jong-Gensler's very own face. We need to reorganize the SEC because of your track record of failing to safeguard investors and using excessive force, Chairman Gensler. There are many problems, but I'll highlight a few below. You propose more than 2 new rules every month on average, and you give people very little time to comment on them. Existing ESG disclosure rules are both impractical and illegal. In crypto, you're effectively operating under the Hotel California rule, where you may check in whenever you choose but can never check out. The prisoners in the market are subjected to never-ending discovery without ever important conclusion or clarity. You have a de facto prohibition on cryptocurrencies thanks to the proposed custody rule and an unfeasible plan to reorganize the equities market. There is a high rate of employee turnover as disgruntled workers quit their jobs and corporations and money flee the country. I have introduced legislation that would replace the SEC chairman with an executive director who would report to the board and have full authority over the agency, end quote. A small golf clap for that one, from a Moon supporter. I realize that we are all cheering the same thing. To put it mildly, yeah. Seeing this expressed right to his face makes me happy. Now, let's talk about the prospect of Gensler's dismissal. Not hopeful, that's for sure. I hope it does, for he's a horrible creation that Mother Nature must have fashioned by mistake. I mean, come on, let's face facts. Even though this hearing lasted for several hours, it was fascinating to observe. 4 or 5 hours. I have no idea. And much of that time he was simply getting shredded. In other words, it's okay that he was able to avoid answering a number of questions. In fact, stay tuned until we come to the section where we discuss Ether. Another lawmaker in the House has been waiting patiently for many minutes to obtain an answer to the simple question of whether or not Ether provides adequate security. So, in a moment, we'll discuss that. However, there is a lot. So, in any case, John Deaton, an attorney, mentioned a quote by Morton Davidson. See Warren Davidson's tweet here. This is another of his pieces. In it, he proposes a reform of the Securities and Exchange Commission and the ouster of its chair, Gary Gensler. Listen to my closing statement from today's hearing, in which I detail the misuse of authority and the lack of action taken to protect investors. That's what I read out, by the way. I see what you did there. Now, lawyer Deaton shared that on Twitter and added, Warren Davidson told it like it is today, telling Gary Gensler that he is a total failure as SEC chairman with a small clap emoji in front of Gensler's face. Indeed, you're quite right. And a live tweeting session on crypto law by attorney John Deaton. Including all of that in a single video would be excessive. It was a highly thorough and wonderful live tweet of the incident, as you can see if you glance down like I am. Thus, I will not subject myself to this. But I felt it necessary to mention that a lawyer did that was retweeted by attorney Deaton, who added, as you read this continuing real-time thread of the hearing, you will fully understand why I've said that there will be no regulatory clarity from Congress for several years. It's just the same old party politics. We need a legal victory since American ingenuity is being stifled in real time. That's the tune that attorney Deaton has sang many times, and he's right. Regrettably, the only way we can move forward is through the legal system. Though it's unfortunate that the XRP community has had to bear the brunt of Kim Jong-un's attacks on the cryptocurrency's investor base, which is, without a doubt, what he's been doing, the silver lining is that, as the pioneers of the cryptocurrency, we'll also be the first to see their destruction. Because, look, there are a lot of tough people out there who would love to fight back against the SEC. But luckily with XRP specifically, the entity that they are suing, Ripple had not only the cajons to fight back against the SEC and Kim Gensler, but also the fiscal war chest to make that happen. However, this can become quite costly if you don't have access to competent representation. In any case, you may forget about it. Therefore, you cannot accomplish it even if you have the will and the guts to do so without sufficient financial resources. Here in the neighborhood, we count ourselves lucky that Ripple has the resources to fight back. And so, if things pan out the way we expect and hope they will, at least in terms of clarity, a positive clarity for XRP holders, we'll be the only holders in crypto just about that actually have clarity, and, by the way, XRP will be the only large cap coin on the entire damn planet that has clarity. That means we can put this matter to rest. Now, I say we're done, but in truth, most of us have a lot more assets than just XRP. Concerned about what cryptocurrency may be hit next, I sit here with approximately 30 others. You see, we only found out the day before yesterday that Algorand had 6 cryptos, but I'm only had this one. The SEC classified Algorand as a security, which is utterly abhorrent and low. I've been saying this for an embarrassingly long time. I'm terrified that the cryptocurrency I'm holding is vulnerable to an attack at any moment. That settles it, it must be Algorand. If anyone can do it, it's Godfrey. Hell no. Kim Gensler is the worst possible creation of random chance. However, at least for XRP, my largest holding, there will soon be some much-needed clarification on that front, I believe. One way or another, though, the fog will lift. It's more or less a case of asking whether or not it's healthy for us. I anticipate a positive response. However, time will tell. Investor in digital assets Jordan Davidson posted a video here in which he discusses his XRP, a security. When Warren Davidson proposes legislation to dismiss Gary, he tells him so directly. And sure, XRP was discussed at length. What kind of explanation do you think he wants to give, Gensler? According to Fox Business Charles Gasparino, who retweeted the post, way too much double talk around some pretty obvious areas that should be settled law right now as either a security lies at the heart of the SEC's crypto regulatory woes. If this is not the case, then XRP classification as a security seems odd. This is common knowledge, right? In a word, yes. And it was Patrick McHenry that really ripped on Gensler about ETH. This is significant for many of us, whether or not you believe in oaths, and I'll explain why. Yes, I swear. It was the first cryptocurrency I ever purchased, and I've had it in my possession since 2017. It's good that there are over 20,000 distinct cryptocurrencies. It's simply amazing that ETH has the second largest market valuation. I really doubt Kim Gensler knows every single one and the details surrounding each one. But I would expect that from ETH. In my opinion, it should know a lot about ETH. Absolutely. Why in the world wouldn't he be? The head of the SEC should know everything there is to know about the ETH ecosystem, from its inception onward. Right. So, the Republican Party's official Twitter account for the financial services industry has posted the following. They reported today that Chairman Patrick McHenry didn't waste any time calling out Gary Gensler during the session earlier today. We will remain vigilant in our oversight of the agencies that fall within our purview, as is our constitutional obligation. Even more remarkably, Patrick McHenry retweeted that very same post this morning, adding that Democrats have ignored Gary Gensler's terrible plan for 2 years. Responsibility for his harmful climate disclosure law and his enforced regulations on digital assets must be taken. The agenda set by Chair Gensler has hampered investment and creativity. I'm not going to play the video on your screen, but know that it lasted many minutes of him trying to get Gary Gensler to answer, okay, what is ETH? In as many different ways as he could think of. Can I invest in it? Could it be considered a commodity? And one of the reasons he questioned was that ETH is a commodity, as recently stated by CFTC Chair Benham. One of the last concerns posed by Patrick McHenry was whether or not it was in the best interest of investors for this to be classified as a commodity by the government. And then the SEC comes along and says everything is a Bitcoin. How about safety? Do investors benefit from having two rating organizations give contradictory opinions? Is there any good in that? And you were unable to elicit a response from him. Well, he was virtually referencing the criteria of the Howey test when he said what Gensler kept saying. This is what we considered. The Howey test is provided below. Essentially, that's what he's doing at the moment. But if the rules of the road are so transparent, why do people keep breaking them? Right. Simply put, Gary Gensler states as much. If that's the case, then please explain what the heck ETH is. You fool, why don't you just come out and tell what it is? For the simple reason that everyone recognizes the truth. The reality is known to us. Presenting, Eric Voorhees. Voorhees Eric. He created the Shapeshift platform, which trades digital currencies. And he posted the following on Twitter. Is Ether a security or commodity? Asked Representative McHenry. Quote ends. Gensler doesn't keep responding to repeated questions. If the law were unambiguous, the solution might be simple and quick to implement. SEC is dishonest and untrustworthy. This is exactly right. Furthermore, he kept asking the same question over and over, and he wasn't taking any of the BS. He had a barbecue going. Interrogating Gensler to the hilt. Ari Paul, who calls himself the CEO and founder of Blocktower Capital, chimes in as well. There are currently 223 devotees. Here's what he ended up penning, too. It's bad enough that the SEC initiates charges before saying that the action in question is forbidden. It's worse that, after filing charges, they still refuse to specify. When the government doesn't explicitly forbid something, it's not illegal in a democracy. I second that, bro. That's dead on. Something else was mentioned as well, and it's something I've been complaining about for, well, over 2 years now. No, not really, I'm afraid. I don't recall exactly when it was said, but it was after Gensler became SEC chair, perhaps within the last year, to be more precise. Not that I'm remembering, but for a long time, Gensler has been like, I'm not going to speak about any specific cryptocurrency. You already know that I'm a jerk. But in the end he did it. Bitcoin is not a security, he claimed. To him it appeared. It seems to be a common item. Okay, well, there's one out of almost 20,000, I thought to myself as he stated that. That settles it. Bitcoin was the solution. I'm not going to get into certain cryptocurrencies, he says thereafter. You little jackass bitch, I've criticized that so many times. The opposite is true. Bitcoin was the only coin you mentioned by name, so please repeat yourself for ETH and the rest. Actually, it's the second most popular digital money nowadays. So you can't just say, well, I'm not going to speak about specific cryptos, but he got called out by Patrick McHenry. To the camera. You stated that you won't be discussing any particular cryptocurrencies. It was your doing. Repeat the process. Repeat that step once more. Do it for the sake of doing it. And he was unable to eject it. He knew he wouldn't be able to pry it from Gensler's cold, dead hands, but the important is that it's on display. And this is where Kim Gensler begins to obfuscate. Yes, that's the point. And then there's JV, a member of the XRP community who uploaded this video. I'm not going to play along, but there is a reputation at stake here, Lawler. And he said, I did enjoy this one, to paraphrase. The citation follows. Quote, your obfuscation is amazing. Remarked he to Gary Gensler. Well done, end of quotation. The hearing was actually pretty entertaining to watch for the most part. It was a total hoot to watch. Seeing a lot of this in one place made my day. But the reality remains the same. And have we made any progress towards the good? Unfortunately, as Attorney Deaton pointed out, the current partisan makeup of Congress means that we are unlikely to obtain any definitive answers. No definitive answers will be available for quite some time. This means that we can expect the judicial system to be the only source of definitive answers. And that's why I mentioned earlier in the video that at least XRP holders can take heart in the fact that the dust is about to settle on this whole ordeal. Right. And that's something we can't say for sure. Fine. If taking your case all the way to the Supreme Court means waiting several more years, then that's great. That doesn't seem likely to me. On a related note, Attorney Jeremy Hogan has lately voiced his view, which is encouraging. I broadcast the information there. He has his doubts that the SEC will appeal a loss in court, and if they do and then lose again at a higher level, it will be the end of the agency's crypto enforcement efforts. That's binding in the sense that judges and other courts can't simply look at it and say, hey, head in this direction as maybe, as a suggestion, but must follow it. I don't think they are going to appeal if they lose here, their lawyer Jeremy Hogan says. Therefore, the likelihood of this matter being heard by the Supreme Court is low. That's not impossible. But even if it does, I've already made my stance clear. I agree with Attorney Deaton that the SEC would be defeated in court since their current action constitutes an excessive exercise of government power. Obviously, there are a plethora of additional factors as well. However, the current makeup of the Supreme Court will not tolerate such behavior. They've already proven they won't put up with your hoopla and hogwash, so stop trying to convince them otherwise. That is the current state of affairs. I really want Gensler to be fired. Still, I wouldn't recommend waiting around. I just think it's great that somebody's making an attempt. There you go. Can you now get enough backing to actually make that happen? Not in my opinion. What really gets under my skin today is the fact that some Democrats are actually praising Kim Jong-un. This stuff scorches my biscuits. No, son, I don't work as a financial planner. Nothing I say or write should be used as a basis for making financial decisions. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you in the next one, bye.